Hi, good evening. Welcome to a very interesting session of innovative organization development consultancy. The website of this consultancy is www.innovativeorgconsultancy.co.in. Today we will discuss about knowledge domains. As you know, in my previous video, I have spoken about organizational knowledge base. The organizational knowledge base is expected to be consisting of organizational routines. Routines are basically those processes which department-wise employees are using on a daily basis. Every routine is expected to form consist of three layers: rules, policies, written instructions, and or step-by-step processes available or frameworks that they might be using on a daily basis to process their work. This is being done by the human resources, which means that human resource is employed to work on these policies, rules, written instructions, or any kind of framework that have already been proposed or made or is utilized by the particular department for their type of work. And lastly is how these these aspects, which are the procedural rules and protocols, are interpreted by the human resources of the organization that form the performative aspect of the routine. Now these three layers are always in constant interaction with each other and takes several different combinations or uh, permutations. If, for example, these are three layers and we want to know how many types of permutations are possible, then we do the factorial and we will come across, let's say, 27 different permutations. So using a process of combination and permutations, we say that there are 27 permutations are possible in each routine. Now in these 27 permutations of each routine, what happens is that we are trying to identify those processes in which the interpretation by the human resources about these protocols and frameworks shows a strong link in increasing efficiency of that particular process or work. Identifying knowledge domains is a basically a matter of practice. There is a theory called practice theory in which these routines are practiced by the department staffers in such a manner that they can help them increase their efficiency, specialization, and also on the basis of their nature of work, their basis of interpretation of the organizational of the departmental frameworks and rules protocols, they develop certain skills. They develop certain skills which are context specific and based on their ingenious or observation about their own role performance to fulfill the obligations of that particular work. So, in this way, we identify the strong links. We identify those links that help in increasing the skill level of that particular employee in while they are going through the process of accomplishment of the work objectives. So, the routines basically capture this information. We are trying to portray these routines as the fundamental and basic units of analysis in for organizations. As many departments, there would be several routines, so it will be a very big, high, high demanding task to identify the those strong links in a organizational routine that are helping you understand the helping you identify those processes in which the circular repetition the circular repetition of the human resources in interpreting the protocols and procedures and frameworks to exemplify uh, to smoothen the process of their work, to filter and process it in such a manner that obstacles are removed by development of their own ingenious skills. This happens as a matter of daily practice. So what practice theory says is that, in just a very brief way I am telling, it's a very vast theory, that in general, through the practice of active practice of uh, carrying out a specific list of tasks or activities or a process where you are expected to achieve the objectives of that work, of that task, you go through these routines. These are the these are the layers in which the interaction is going on continuously, but we don't take notice of all these things. Sometimes we see that workers or employees are there making notes while they are working. That is basically the interpretation part of that routine in which he is going through, but he has not himself recognized the importance or evidence of this circular routine. But he is doing all those things that help him improvise, his way of working, his improvise his approach to the work by by having different thought process, by creating a model, by developing certain skills based on observation and intuition and application. These are very important things to understand the theory of knowledge creation, that is within the broad contours of organizational science. So this is the way we are talking about the fundamental units of analysis. Routines be the fundamental units of analysis for identification of knowledge domains. I've just given an example. I've just given an example, like for example, in a department where the executive has to perform certain operations on a list of data, on a list of data to find out those people who are enrolled in certain courses and what all they need to have in their uh, understanding to be enrolled in that course. So the executive who is doing this job, he has clear instructions on what all tasks he has to perform on the data to achieve the objectives of the task. So he has his own way of interpreting these instructions in a manner that is most feasible and least time consuming, at the same time most efficient to achieve the objectives of the task. So he makes notes of all these things and makes notes of all these things. That is when he is interpreting the instructions given to him, and in that making notes and using the several conditional statements which are available in Excel. So he is basically trying his intellect in the process of making notes and interpreting the instructions in a manner in which it is most feasible for him. This is the creation of an organizational routine where the interaction is happening, but we don't know. But we have to put them in a model to understand the strong links where the process has been able to generate a sufficient amount of satisfaction and skill among the workforce, which is leading to identification of knowledge clusters. Knowledge clusters. These are those knowledge clusters on the basis of which now we will make them as nodes in the organizational map. This is where we find a organizational map is where we find the cross-cultural interactions of various knowledge clusters that that hint or that shows the that there is a scope of development of a certain kind of knowledge that can give the organization certain unique advantages in terms of knowledge creation, knowledge retention, and utilizing those knowledge created or identified knowledge clusters to have some kind of innovation or new changes within the organization. That new change or innovation could be in terms of training, the different kind of training systems getting evolved that help the human resources of that organization to modify these maybe the socio-cultural activities, socio-materiality of the organization in terms of organization of workspaces, in terms of infrastructure required, in terms of what all they can offer as a consequence of the socio-material arrangements that they have made within the organization to achieve those tasks that could be delivered with the identification of the knowledge clusters. So, in this way, the concept of innovation can be brought in through identification of knowledge clusters. In this session, I have spoken about the identification of knowledge domains and how they can help in co-creating a organizational knowledge graph. More about the organizational knowledge map consisting of these knowledge clusters as nodes within the bigger picture. I will talk about it in another session. I hope you have found this thing interesting enough to be able to interpret it and give in your comments on my YouTube channel. Uh, have a nice day. Thank you.